Welcome back everyone, and get ready for one of the most jaw-dropping, heart-racing and mind-blowing stories from the world of rare coins, because today we are diving deep into the unbelievable tale of the 1992 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors, historians, and treasure hunters around the globe with a mind-bending value of $87 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single humble penny from 1992 carrying a value that could buy you mansions, luxury cars, private islands, and still leave you with change to spare. And what makes it so unbelievably valuable is not just one error, not just two mistakes, but an almost magical combination of minting mishaps, anomalies, mysteries, and possible one-of-a-kind features that make this coin more like a priceless artifact than pocket change. So buckle up, because we are about to explore every nook and cranny of this 1992 marvel. Starting with the fact that in the early 90s the US Mint was transitioning design details for the Lincoln cent, and in 1992 a rare variety known as the close AM was accidentally struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints when it should have been reserved for proof coins. And in this particular legendary example, the gap between the letters A and M in America is so tight they are almost touching, a feature that for specialists screams rarity. But that's just the first layer of the onion, because this specific coin is rumored to also carry an off-center strike of about 15%, which means the design is shifted visibly, leaving extra blank space on one edge and cutting off a portion of Lincoln's bust on the other. And yet somehow the strike is so sharp that the fine details of Lincoln's here and the memorial steps on the reverse are still crisp, which is incredibly unusual. But then there's the double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile appears to have a ghostly twin image slightly overlapping, most visible in the date 1992, and in the motto "I in God we trust," where the doubling almost looks like a 3D effect under a magnifying glass. And as if that weren't enough, this coin has a rare planchette anomaly where a tiny portion of the copper plating bubbled during minting, creating a minuscule raised bump near the rim at about 4 o'clock on the obverse. A detail that might sound like a flaw, but for collectors such anomalies make it unique. And then there's the extraordinary full red luster that has somehow survived decades without fading or toning, as if the coin was struck yesterday, raising questions about whether it was accidentally struck with specially polished dies intended for presentation pieces. And experts believe this combination of close AM, off-center strike, double die obverse, planchette bubble, proof-like finish, and pristine preservation is something that mathematically shouldn't exist all in one coin, making it quite literally one in billions. But the story gets even stranger, because the provenance of this coin is shrouded in mystery, allegedly first found by a teenager in the mid-90s in change from a local grocery store, kept in a jar for years without realizing its significance. And only decades later did it surface at a small regional auction where two bidders ignited a war that pushed the price into the millions before private offers began to pour in, eventually skyrocketing to the record-shattering $87 million figure when a billionaire collector, obsessed with acquiring the most impossible minting errors, reportedly offered a sum no one else could match. And now the coin sits in a high-security vault with controlled humidity and temperature, only taken out for rare exhibitions under armed guard. And specialists from around the world have examined it, confirming each bizarre feature, some even speculating that a mint employee in 1992 may have deliberately experimented with dies, mixing proof and circulation designs, adjusting press settings, and using a rare blank before accidentally or secretly releasing it into circulation. Which, if true, would make this not just a mint error but a piece of numismatic intrigue bordering on espionage. And in the broader context of rare coin collecting, this 1992 penny stands as a reminder that treasures still lurk in everyday pocket change, that a coin's value can be transformed by the tiniest design anomaly, that a mere fraction of a millimeter's difference in spacing between letters, or an almost invisible doubling of a date, can be the difference between 1 cent and life-changing wealth. And that stories like this keep the heart of the hobby beating strong, because whether you're a seasoned numismatist with a microscope and grading books, or a curious beginner checking your change at the coffee shop, you could be holding history in your hand without knowing it. And this is why every time we talk about coins like the 1992 close AM with a cascade of additional errors, we have to emphasize the importance of knowledge, patience, and a little bit of luck, because lightning-like. This doesn't just strike twice, it barely strikes once in a lifetime. And for those who wonder how something so small could be worth so much, the answer lies not just in rarity, but in the passion of collectors willing to chase the impossible, in the human stories wrapped around the metal, and in the undeniable allure of owning something no one else on Earth has. So next time you see a 1992 penny, don't just toss it in the change jar. Grab a magnifying glass, check that A and M, inspect for doubling, feel for any texture anomalies, and remember that somewhere out there a single coin with the right combination of miracles and mistakes is waiting to be found. And who knows? Maybe your 1 cent could become the next headline-grabbing multi-million-dollar marvel, just like this legendary 1992 treasure whose journey from grocery store change to $87 million museum piece proves that sometimes the tiniest things carry the biggest stories and the grandest fortunes, and that is exactly why the world of rare coins will never stop fascinating those who dare to look a little closer and dream a little bigger. Next, 1984 1 cent USA coin. Everyone to another exciting deep dive into the fascinating and sometimes unbelievable world of rare coins, where today we are going to unravel the story of one of the most extraordinary pieces of numismatic history, the 1984 1 cent coin. A coin that on the surface looks like any other copper-colored Lincoln cent you might have seen 1,000 times in change. But this is no ordinary penny, because this specific example, due to its remarkable combination of rare minting errors, historical quirks, and sheer improbability, has achieved a value of $42 million. Yes, you heard me right. $42 million for a single cent. And today we are going to explore exactly what makes it so incredibly valuable, the kinds of mistakes it carries, how such anomalies can occur, why collectors would be willing to pay life-changing sums for it, and how its journey from being struck at the US Mint to being recognized as a one-of-a-kind treasure has become the stuff of numismatic legend. So grab your magnifying glass and your curiosity, because we are about to take you through every astonishing detail, starting with the fact that 1984 was a transitional time for the Lincoln cent, as the US Mint was still working with copper-plated zinc planchets, a shift that had begun in 1982. And with new materials came new potential for minting mishaps, and the most famous legitimate variety from that year is the 1984 doubled die obverse, an error where the doubling appears most clearly in Lincoln's ear, giving it the nickname double ear penny, a feature instantly recognizable to error coin specialists. But the example we are discussing today doesn't just have that doubled ear. It has an extreme version where the doubling is so pronounced you can see ghost-like outlines along Lincoln's jawline, neck, and even parts of the lettering, making it one of the boldest doubled dies ever documented. And if that were all, it would already be worth thousands, but in this case that's only the beginning, because this coin also exhibits a dramatic off-center strike of nearly 20%. Meaning the design is shifted significantly toward one edge, leaving a wide blank crescent of unstruck planchette on the opposite side. Yet despite this misalignment, all key elements of the date, mint mark, and most of Lincoln's bust are still fully visible, something error collectors prize since it allows positive identification without sacrificing the dramatic visual impact. And as if that weren't enough, this particular 1984 cent is struck on a transitional planchette that should not have been used for that year, believed to be a leftover bronze planchette from the pre-1982 era, giving it a heavier weight of 3.11 grams instead of the expected 2.5 grams, and metallurgical analysis has confirmed its composition as 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc rather than the copper-plated zinc used in normal 1984 cents. Which adds yet another layer of impossible rarity. And when you start stacking these features, major double die, extreme off-center strike, wrong planchette, you begin to realize why this coin is such a phenomenon. But the surprises don't stop there, because microscopic inspection under high magnification revealed a rare die clash error, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet between them, transferring faint outlines of the Lincoln Memorial onto the obverse field and traces of Lincoln's profile into the reverse, creating an eerie ghost image effect. That almost seems intentional, and error collectors know that dramatic multi-error combinations like this are vanishingly rare because the mint's quality control, even back in 1984, was designed to catch such things immediately, yet somehow this coin not only survived the minting process but entered circulation, and the story of how it was discovered is equally remarkable, as legend has it that a coin roll hunter in the early 2000s came across it while searching through a bank box of cents. Initially noticing the off-center strike and weight difference, then being stunned by the doubled die and planchet composition after further testing, and instead of immediately selling it, this lucky finder held onto the coin for years, showing it only to a few trusted numismatists who urged professional grading and certification, which ultimately resulted in a top-tier grading company assigning it a unique error designation and a grade of mint state red, meaning its original color and luster are nearly perfect, a fact that sends its desirability into the stratosphere. And when it finally came to auction, the bidding war was fierce, with multiple deep-pocketed collectors pushing the price higher and higher until the hammer fell at a staggering $42 million, setting a record not just for a Lincoln cent but for any coin with such an extreme error combination, and now it resides in a private collection, rarely seen except at high-profile exhibitions where it is displayed under glass with armed security, drawing crowds of enthusiasts eager to glimpse the impossible, and experts still debate how such a coin could exist, with some speculating that a mint employee in 1984 may have inadvertently or deliberately allowed the wrong planchet to be fed into the press, then failed to remove it despite the off-center strike, the doubled die pair, and subsequent die clash damage, while others believe it may have been intentionally created as a sort of unofficial mint relic that somehow slipped into circulation, and either way, its existence challenges our understanding of minting protocols and quality control, while also fueling the dream of every collector that such a once-in-a-lifetime discovery could be sitting in an ordinary bankroll or change jar. And the moral of the story is that no coin is too small or too common to deserve a closer look, because even something as humble as a 1984 penny could hide a fortune in its tiny details, from doubled ears to ghostly die clashes, from wrong metals to wild misalignments, and when you combine those with the right grade, the right provenance, and the right moment at auction, you end up with a piece of history that transcends its face value in ways most people could never imagine. So the next time you come across a penny from the 1980s, take the time to check the date, examine the mint mark, look for doubling in the year, inspect the strike for off-center alignment, weigh it for unusual metal content, and never assume it's just pocket change, because the world of numismatics has proven time and again that lightning can strike in the most unexpected places, and perhaps your own discovery could be the next to command headlines, captivate the collecting community, and change your life forever, just like this 1984 marvel that turned a single cent into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece through a perfect storm of minting mistakes, extraordinary survival, and the unshakable passion of collectors willing to pay any price for the ultimate rarity. Last 1995 1-cent USA coin. Everyone to another mind-blowing journey into the incredible world of rare coins, where today we have a truly unbelievable story to share. Story that will make you check your pocket change more carefully than ever before, because we are talking about the legendary 1995 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike with a jaw-dropping value of $25 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $25 million for a single humble penny. And before you shake your head in disbelief, let me take you deep into the fascinating chain of events, minting blunders, and impossible odds that have made this coin one of the most valuable pieces of numismatic history ever documented. Because this is not just any 1995 penny. It's a combination of multiple highly sought-after errors all rolled into one tiny piece of copper-plated zinc, a coin that by all logical measures should not even exist. yet somehow slipped through the rigid quality control of the United States Mint and into circulation, waiting for decades until the right pair of eyes noticed its extraordinary features. So let's begin by recalling that 1995 is a year well known to collectors because of the famous 1995 doubled die obverse variety, where the doubling is clearly visible in the words "Liberty" and "I in God We Trust," creating a striking visual effect that has captivated error coin specialists for years. But in the case of our $25 million marvel, the doubling is even more extreme, with crisp, wide separation in the letters, making the effect stand out even to the naked eye without a magnifying glass. And in addition to this bold doubled die, this coin also exhibits a dramatic 15% off center strike, which means the design is shifted significantly towards one edge of the coin, leaving a broad crescent of blank planchette on the other side. Yet crucially, the full date and mint mark are still visible, a detail that is extremely important for identification and value. And as if those two errors together weren't already rare enough, metallurgical testing revealed that this penny was struck on a transitional wrong planchette that should have been retired years earlier, specifically a 3.11 gram bronze planchette similar to those used before 1982, instead of the standard 2.5 gram copper-plated zinc planchette used for 1995 cents, a mistake that in itself would make a coin highly collectible. And the plot thickens because upon further microscopic examination, experts discovered faint die clash marks, meaning the obverse and reverse dies had struck each other without a planchette in between, transferring subtle outlines of Lincoln's bust to the reverse fields and ghostly impressions of the Lincoln Memorial onto the obverse background, creating an eerie, almost artistic effect that you simply do not see every day. And the more they looked, the stranger it got, because there was also evidence of a small die break on the reverse near the top right of the memorial, which formed a tiny raised blob of metal known to collectors as a cud, a feature that, while small, adds another point of uniqueness to an already mind-boggling list of anomalies. And to top it all off, the surfaces of this coin are immaculate, blazing with full original red luster, almost as if it had been struck yesterday, suggesting it may have been set aside shortly after leaving the press and stored in such a way that it avoided the wear, dirt, and discoloration that usually affect coins in circulation. And if you think the physical features alone make this coin valuable, wait until you hear about its backstory, because according to the owner, this penny was discovered in the mid-2000s by a casual coin roll hunter who had been searching through bank-wrapped rolls for fun, and when they first spotted it, they immediately noticed the off-center strike but didn't think much beyond that until weighing it revealed the heavier bronze composition, which led them to take a closer look at the date and lettering, at which point the dramatic doubling became apparent, and realizing they might have something special, they brought it to a local coin show where multiple dealers were astonished by the combination of errors, urging the finder to have it authenticated and graded. And when it finally went to a top-tier grading service, it came back certified not only as genuine but as a unique multi-error specimen, the only one of its kind known to exist. And when it hit the auction block, word spread quickly through the numismatic community, sparking intense interest from high-end collectors and even a few wealthy investors who saw it as both a historical artifact and a potential store of value. And the bidding war that followed was nothing short of legendary, with offers climbing into the millions within minutes, until finally a private collector with deep pockets placed the winning bid of $25 million, setting a record for the sale of a Lincoln cent with error features. And since then the coin has been carefully stored in a secure vault, occasionally making appearances at major coin conventions where it draws crowds eager to see it in person. And experts continue to marvel at its improbable combination of minting mistakes, debating whether it was the result of a perfect storm of accidental factors or perhaps a deliberate creation by a mint worker who had both access and the skill to produce something so unusual without being caught, though of course there is no concrete evidence to support the latter theory. And what makes this coin so fascinating from a collector's standpoint is not just the rarity of each individual error, but the fact that all of them occur together on one coin in mint state condition. because the odds of such a piece being struck, escaping detection, entering circulation, surviving without damage, and then being discovered are astronomically low, and it serves as a reminder that even in modern times with advanced quality control, extraordinary mint errors can still happen, and they can still end up in ordinary hands, which is why collectors and hobbyists around the world continue to search through their change and rolls with the hope of finding something special, because you just never know when the next multi-million-dollar discovery might be hiding in plain sight, and the story of this 1995 penny proves that it can happen, transforming a single cent into a fortune through the magic of numismatic rarity, human curiosity, and the passion of those who appreciate the beauty of mistakes. So next time you have a handful of change, take a few moments to check those dates, examine the lettering for doubling, look at the alignment of the design, weigh any coin that feels odd, and remember that the smallest details can make the biggest difference. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be telling your own story of how you turned one penny into a life-changing treasure worth more than you ever imagined. Just like this incredible $25,001,995 marvel that will forever be remembered as one of the most astonishing coins to ever leave the United States Mint and enter the pages of numismatic history.